The Institute of Internal Auditors presents All Things Internal Audit. In this episode, Benito Ybarra sits down with Rick Walke to discuss the newly updated Internal Audit Practitioner designation, or the IAP. They explore its value as a permanent credential, its role as a stepping stone to the CIA, and how it equips internal auditors with foundational knowledge. The conversation highlights the IAP's global reach, employer credibility, and practical benefits for students, rotational auditors, and professionals at the start of their audit journey.
Rick, thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to having a discussion about the IAP. I saw you around spending some time here at the IA. We appreciate everything you do for us, but we thought, why not sit down and talk a little bit about our experience working together on the IAP? So really looking forward to it.
Thank you. It's always fun to be at IA headquarters and being able to renew some of those relationships and work through some of the challenges we have that's related to the exam development committee.
Yeah, no, it's been really good working with you, and the team is great. So, like I said, having a chance to work together on the IAP, let's talk a little bit about each other's experiences on that, right? So things are looking good, excited about what it means for the profession, but what stands out for you in terms of all of that?
It was somewhat of a long process. 18 months, I think, we worked through trying to get to the finished product. That, first of all, stands out to me. Second of all, I think we hit all of the objectives that we had for the IAP. And, it's make it a permanent designation, make it a stepping stone to the CIA. Those types of objectives, I felt really, really good that we accomplished those objectives over those several months that we spent working through the process.
Yeah, that piece you mentioned about counting toward the CIA. So that wasn't always the intent, as we thought about what we were going to do with the IAP, because we knew we needed to update it, make it more valuable. When that idea came up, things really started clicking because we started talking about the difficulty, who we could serve, et cetera, et cetera. So go ahead.
But think about that for a second, Benito. It's really a great way to kick off your CIA journey is let's jump in there. Let's earn that IAP. And oh, by the way, I've got a stepping stone toward the CIA. And what better way for the IIA to kind of get people introduced to our certification program by doing the designation with the IAP? Let's clear up some of the confusion on the IAP. When you apply for the IAP, you are applying for the IAP designation. You will take the CIA Part 1, same questions as you would take if you were taking it in the CIA, but you will only have to take CIA Part 1 to earn your IAP designation. You can stop at that point. You have to do the 20 hours of CPE each year to maintain your IAP, and you can just stop and have that designation and that credential behind your name. Or the next step could be that you go in and apply for the CIA exam, and you can take the CIA exam in any order, except, guess what? You don't have to take CIA Part 1 because you've already earned that IAP designation. You don't have to take CIA Part 1. You've got credit for that. You just have to focus on CIA Parts 2 and 3.
Yeah, so putting yourself in the place or in the shoes of a candidate, an employee who is starting out in internal audit, thinking about internal audit, what does the IAP mean for them?
I think the IAP means for those folks starting out, it gives them that ability to start in a structured manner the learning of internal audit, the basics of internal audit. And the IAP and the study that you go through to pass and earn that designation of the IAP, that structure is sometimes really good for certain people.
So when I first joined the IA, we had our certifications out there, the CIA, the IAP, and the CRMA, which we still promote and, as we know, recently updated and are working to update the CRMA. With the update to the global internal audit standards, we knew we had a job to do with regard to the CIA. And where the IAP fit within all of that was up for discussion. So going back to those discussions, those early discussions, if you remember, Rick, what are some of the things that stood out for you with regard to the opportunities, the challenges up ahead?
So if I'm sitting in my seat as a brand new internal auditor, I'm trying to figure out what it is I should be doing, what it is I should know. And the knowledge base that is in the syllabus for the IAP, that's a place for you to go as a new internal auditor to find out what this whole thing is all about. What it is, what is a baseline knowledge that an internal auditor should know? How should I perform? What are the ethics, the due professional care that we have to exercise? All of those things, you may be sitting in your chair and had no idea what those things were or how that relates to internal audit. And as you study through to earn that IAP, you're going to understand what it is to be an internal auditor.
Yep. Thank you. So when you think about the IAP, who would you say it's designed for? How should candidates be thinking about this exam?
I think it's designed for every internal auditor. To me, it doesn't really matter. If you're not certified, then I think the IAP may be for you. We specifically looked at designing a credential or a designation for college students, folks that don't quite have any experience yet, but that are very interested in internal audit. So that was one target audience that we saw a need for in the IAP, professionals that are rotating into an internal audit function. The IAP gives them that opportunity to learn those fundamentals of internal audit and be able to earn a designation that says, hey, I understand the fundamentals of internal audit. And then their CAEs can rely upon that examination and that designation to say, hey, these people understand. And then just any other internal auditor that has not yet pursued their CIA, start out with the IAP. See what you think about the IAP. If you liked what you experienced in the IAP, come back. Let's go finish this thing out. Let's get there and get that CIA.
Oh, that's good, because it kind of segues into the purpose that we talk about here at headquarters regarding the standards, the guidance we put out, the tools, and the certifications. We have to give, those that rely on us that confidence that there is a foundational level of expertise, professionalism. Like I said, the ethics, integrity all comes with it, associated with our profession. For some, the internal audit profession is still misunderstood, unfortunately. So in strengthening everything I talked about and getting people to commit, like you said, and demonstrate their abilities, we're doing the right thing for them.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Our Vision 2035 study really supports that we need to get out there and make sure that everyone understands internal audit and what it is and what it isn't. And I think that looking at the fundamentals of internal audit and earning that designation of the IAP is a very, very good start toward understanding internal audit and understanding what it is and understanding what it is not.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned, the reliability, right, that this brings. So I'll admit, a few years ago, I wasn't here at the IA. I was a practitioner. I was a chief auditor. And somebody came to me with the proposition with regarding, taking the IAP. I really didn't understand it, didn't know much about it. But given what I saw, I really couldn't, unfortunately, rely on it to give me what I needed as far as career progression, attracting candidates or potential job seekers. So that was another consideration that we took into play for sure. And I think we've done that with regard to the reliability. Like you said, focus on fundamentals, giving reliability to the employer and those that rely on us, that they understand how to audit and do so in an ethical and manner with integrity too.
Yeah, I think just the fact that the IAP is part one of the CIA exam and we're giving you credit for part one of the CIA exam, I think that lends a lot of reliability, a lot of credibility to that credential. And I think that CAEs looking for people and see somebody with that IAP now, they actually can understand that hey, this person is committed to internal audit. They know their fundamentals of internal audit, and they're ready to come into my shop, ready to hit the ground running and learning the rest of the business of internal audit.
Yeah. So in terms of, the syllabus, what people should expect and start to study for when they're going on their IAP journey, where would you start? What are some of the elements that are for you stood out?
I think some of the elements that I would focus on as I'm working through my IAP journey, obviously you're gonna focus on section A of the syllabus and to learn all of those concepts within that in section A of the syllabus. But then as you're thinking about your journey through from the IAP and the journey to CIA, placing some emphasis in the area of section B and section C when it comes to the ethics and professionalism and governance, risk management and control, and the fraud risk section, section D, right? All of those things are going to show back up later on. You'll see those overlapping with CIA parts 2 and 3. And so you learn the fundamentals in section A. You start to learn more and more about managing the internal audit function and performing engagements in sections B, C, and D of the syllabus for the IAP and part 1 of the CIA.
Yeah, that's right. And these are concepts that also, like we mentioned earlier, give you confidence to have the discussions you need to. Because as internal auditors, you're not always walking around giving people good news, but if you can speak in terms of organizational elements like this and how they're impacting the organization, how the organization could be better, how they could take new opportunities to do things in a different way, those are things people like to hear, leaders like to hear.
Absolutely. And these sections of part 1 are going to enhance your abilities to have those sometimes tough conversations within your organizations.
Yeah, one of the elements that you mentioned that I'm really excited about is that focus on governance, risk management, and control. Because going back to my earlier story with regard to why this didn't resonate with me, if somebody had come to me and said it included these elements, that's something that any professional, right, would want on their resume and want to know about.
Absolutely. And I think that really folds well into rotational auditors. Auditors and folks that are rotating into the internal audit function, going through the IAP and earning that IAP, they are going to start to hit on those concepts of governance, risk management, and control. And like you said, Benito, once they come out of internal audit, out of their rotation of internal audit, and they've earned that IAP, they now have those fundamental concepts behind governance, risk management, and control. Things like organizational processes and risk management within organizational processes, the concepts of risk types, the concepts of risk mitigations. You have to understand those things to pass the IAP, and those are concepts that should be woven throughout any organization.
And again, the portability you mentioned for rotational auditors, for people that really aren't sure whether or not they want to stay in internal audit, these are concepts, this is knowledge that you're going to take with you throughout your career.
Absolutely. And they're concepts that are really going to, in some cases, protect you out there in the organization once you've left internal audit. You'll understand those concepts of controls and fraud risks and fraud controls, and it could really save you out there in the organization someday.
Yep. So for the internal auditor who doesn't have a certification or is thinking about the IAP and has that chief auditor that they have to convince to support it, how should that candidate employee frame it? What can they talk about?
I would frame it from the standpoint of employee development. Help me develop my career. I really want to be an internal auditor, and I want to develop my career, and I would like to be able to, one, study for the IAP. If you can help me out with some of the study materials, if nothing else, just support me in my career goals of becoming a credentialed internal auditor.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned that because it's important, because what we've done here recently at the IA is contacted human resources professionals around the world, try to get them to think about our certification program more seriously in terms of the profession and career progressions, right? So getting on your HR's radar is important as well for the employees and the chief auditors as well. It helps with, strengthening your organization.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that strengthening of the organization, because organizations, it seems like these days, the great organizations are really putting forth efforts to develop their employees. And again, in internal audit, what better way to show commitment to your internal auditors than to help them out in developing their career and helping them earn their IAP.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Rick. And that lends itself to what we were talking about regarding the credibility, the professionalism, et cetera, that we need to exude as a profession.
Yeah, and after you learn that and have mastered that and proven that through the IAP, people will look at you and understand that you are credible, that you are for real when it comes to being an internal auditor and being able to perform your job at that highest level.
Yeah, you gain confidence, but you also, like you said, you gain the credibility, and that sets you up for the next phase, right? Taking those other challenges in your career.
As you pass that first part of the CIA and earn that designation, it's gonna feel great. You're gonna feel accomplished at a career that we hope spans decades, right? And that initial confidence can be earned, and you can feel that confidence by taking that IAP and mastering that.
Yeah, one of the other benefits of the IAP now is that it serves 14 different languages where before it didn't.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference and a huge advantage in the redesign of the IAP.
Yeah, so in terms of feedback from all over the world, our leaders, our national institutes, our chapters are really liking what they see out of the IAP. It's given them a boost, something to promote, because like we've said before, it's now permanent. It counts toward the CIA. It allows them to convey to their employees that there's something valuable about seeking IA certifications. And this one, again, being a potential inflection point for somebody either thinking about internal audit or switching careers has really been an important thing for people out there. Yep. Yeah. So again, I was really excited when those conversations came up, and talking to stakeholders now all over the world, it's one of the really true value propositions that the IAP brings. So well done. Thank you. And congratulations to you and the team on that.
Well, yeah, thank you. And you mentioned a really important point to me. It was a team effort. My exam development committee, every last person that's been on that committee is still on that committee, was involved in the revamp of the IAP, and I really have to thank that team for what they did to bring the IAP out to the membership. It's been really fun for me to give back to a profession that for the last 35 plus years of my life, I've been devoted to internal audit, and the IIA has supported me throughout that career. And it's been a real opportunity and an honor to be able to give back to the profession through the Exam Development Committee and the Professional Certifications Board, and being able to be a part of the team here at the Institute.
Well, thanks again, Rick, and thanks everyone for joining today.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully everyone will go out there and apply for that IAP.
If you're interested in taking the IAP, or you just want a little bit more information, you can check out the show notes of this episode, and you'll be able to find the link that will take you directly to our certifications page. You can also visit theiaa.org and select our certifications tab. That way, you'll be able to navigate your way through different types of certifications that we do offer. Banking on big changes? Will spark your next audit breakthrough at the 2025 Financial Services Exchange, November 3rd to the 4th in Washington, D.C., or virtually. Gain fresh insights, network with peers, and earn up to 13 CPEs. Head to theiaa.org to reserve your spot now. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and rate us. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also catch other episodes on YouTube or at theiaa.org. That's THEIIA.org.